Why do the people you've helped the most end up being the ones who fail you the most? Why does the son you supported in his worst moments ignore you today? Why was the friend you saved from a crisis the first one to speak badly about you behind your back? If this has happened to you, listen carefully. You are not naive. You are not foolish. You have just discovered one of the most uncomfortable truths about human nature, a truth that the Stoics understood more than 2,000 years ago, and that most people learn too late, paying a very high price. Today you will discover the 12 reasons why the people you help end up betraying you. Number 12 is the most brutal of all, and when you hear it, you will suddenly understand why certain relationships in your life broke apart exactly the way they did. Stay until the end. What you are going to learn today can save you years of pain. Before we dive into the first reason, if you find value in this content, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and write the word betrayal in the comments if you ever helped someone with all your heart and they let you down. I want to know how many people have lived this firsthand. Let's begin. 1. Receiving help wounds the ego more than you imagine. I want you to think about something few people dare to admit out loud. When someone helps you in a significant way, whether with money, time, influence, contacts, or emotional energy, something invisible happens inside the person who receives. You become the one who can. They become the one who needs. And that difference, even though nobody says it out loud, even though nobody openly acknowledges it, burns from the inside with an intensity that surprises those who have never studied it. Seneca wrote it with a clarity that is unsettling. The benefit received is a chain for the small soul. Not because helping is bad, but because receiving creates a debt, and debt wounds pride. And wounded pride does not rest. It seeks sooner or later a way to rebalance the scales. Sometimes that takes the form of silent withdrawal. Other times it is criticism. Other times it is the most direct and most painful betrayal you can imagine. Think about this honestly. How many times have you helped someone with all your heart, with all your generosity, and after a while that person started finding faults in you, speaking badly about you, drifting away without explanation? It was not a coincidence. It was the mechanism of the ego, functioning exactly as it was designed to function. The human ego cannot indefinitely sustain the awareness of having needed someone else. It needs to resolve that tension. And the easiest resolution, even if it is the most unjust, is convincing itself that the person who helped had bad intentions, hidden motives, that it really was not that significant. Imagine lending someone your umbrella in the middle of a storm. At first they thank you wholeheartedly, but if that storm lasts months, if for months that person lives under your umbrella without being able to buy their own, a day comes when the umbrella stops being a gift and becomes a silent humiliation, and then, instead of thanking you, they start finding flaws in your umbrella, saying it is not that good, convincing themselves they did not really need it that much, because that is the only way their mind can recover the dignity they feel they lost. And there is something more worth understanding about this mechanism, because it goes beyond simple ingratitude. It is not that the person is bad, it is that their inner world does not have enough space to simultaneously hold the image of themselves they need to maintain, and the reality of having needed someone. Something has to give. And almost always it is reality that gives, not the image. So the next time someone you helped turns cold or distant, do not ask yourself what you did wrong. Do not torture yourself searching for the mistake in yourself. Ask yourself how much it cost their ego to need you. Because the answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know about what really happened. 2. Your help was a mirror they did not want to see. When you help someone in a moment of weakness, you do something that very few people understand in its full depth. You become a permanent witness to that weakness. And there are people, many more than you imagine, who cannot stand that someone has seen their vulnerability. They do not hate you. They hate what you represent, the living memory, the irrefutable proof that at some point they could not do it alone, that they needed to be rescued, that there was a moment in their life when they collapsed and you were there to see it. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that men are disturbed not by things but by the opinions they hold about them, and for some people the opinion of having been helped, of having been seen in their worst moment is simply unbearable. They cannot look you in the eyes without remembering that version of themselves they wanted to bury. So they do the most human and at the same time the most irrational thing in the world. They destroy the mirror so they do not have to keep looking at themselves in it. Imagine you are a mirror that reflects without intention and without malice the image of someone in the darkest moment of their life. Every time that person sees you, every time they talk to you, every time they think of you, that image returns without them being able to stop it. And if they do not have the inner strength to integrate that image, to accept it as part of their story without it destroying them, the only way out their mind finds is to push you away, to criticize you, to betray you, because by pushing you away, they push away the memory too. The Stoics called this the inability to make peace with one's own history. Epictetus, who had been a slave and knew humiliation from the inside better than anyone, understood it perfectly. There are people who never forgive themselves for having been weak, and as long as they do not forgive themselves, they cannot forgive those who saw them in that moment of weakness either. You are not the problem. You are the reminder of a problem they have not yet resolved within themselves. But there is an additional dimension to this phenomenon that is rarely mentioned and is equally important. The mirror does not only reflect past weakness, it also reflects, every time they see you, the distance between who they are and who they could have been if they had used your help to grow. Every time they see you, stable, serene, moving forward, that distance becomes more visible and more painful. And instead of using that vision as motivation, there are people who prefer not to see. And the most effective way not to see is to eliminate the mirror. That means eliminating you. This does not mean you should stop helping. It means you should help with your eyes completely open, understanding that for some people your presence will always be an uncomfortable reminder that at some point they will want to make disappear. 3. Gratitude has an expiration date. At first, the person who receives help is grateful, genuinely grateful. You see it in their eyes, you hear it in their words, you feel it in their attitude toward you, and you think, with all the logic in the world, that this gratitude will last, that what you built together in that difficult moment created a bond that time will strengthen. But something happens that psychology has been documenting for decades and that the Stoics understood long before any scientific study. The more help a person receives, the heavier the emotional debt they feel. And when that debt becomes impossible to repay, when the person understands in some corner of their mind that they will never be able to give back what you gave them, gratitude transforms into something much darker: resentment. Resentment does not arrive all at once. It arrives slowly, disguised as small criticisms, as increasingly long silences, as excuses not to be present when you need them. And one day, without anything apparently having changed, the person you help the most is the one who treats you with the most coldness, the one who abandons you most easily, the one who speaks badly about you with the most conviction when you are not there. Epictetus warned it with a sharpness that cuts: do not expect others to act as you would act. Each person responds from their own inner world, not from yours. You gave from your strength, they receive from their fragility. And that difference in starting point produces results completely different from what you expected. The key the Stoics taught us to protect ourselves from this mechanism is as simple as it is powerful. Give without expectations from the very first moment. Not as resignation, but as wisdom. Because the one who gives expecting eternal gratitude is building their own suffering. And there is something more worth adding here, something most people discover too late. The gratitude that does last, the genuine gratitude that withstands the test of time, almost never comes from those you helped the most in their most dramatic moments. It comes from those you helped in a more discreet, smaller, more everyday way. Advice at the right moment. A word when no one else was there. A calm presence without any need for heroism, because that kind of help does not create debt. It creates a bond. And bonds, unlike debts, are not resented. They are treasured. 4. Helping without limits destroys respect. There is an uncomfortable truth that no one wants to hear, but that experience confirms again and again without exception. When you give without limits, when you are always available for everything, when you solve all of someone's problems without being asked twice, when you systematically put the other person's needs before your own, You stop being a respected person and become a resource. And resources are not valued. They are used, they are consumed, and when they run out, they are discarded without guilt. The Stoics had a principle worth committing to memory. Virtue is not giving everything you have, but giving wisely. Giving without limits is not generosity. It is, at its core, a way of buying affection, of avoiding conflict, of not having to face the discomfort of saying no. And that purchase always comes at a high cost, because what you buy with boundless generosity is not true love. It is dependency. And dependency, sooner or later, turns into resentment. Think of someone you know, or perhaps yourself, who for years was the one who was always there, who never failed, who solved everything without complaining. What happened to that person over time? Were they respected more? Were they valued more? Or on the contrary, did people start demanding more from them, acting surprised when they finally set a limit, taking offense when they said no for the first time? That is the trap of generosity without boundaries. It creates a dynamic in which the one who gives the most is paradoxically the one who is respected the least. Marcus Aurelius understood this from his position as a ruler. A leader who grants everything that is asked of him is not admired. He is taken advantage of. And the same happens in personal relationships. Genuine respect is not earned by giving without limits. It is earned by being consistent in values and firm in boundaries. It is earned by being someone who helps when they choose to, not someone who helps because they do not know how to say no. And there is a beautiful paradox in all of this worth underlining. The day you learn to say no, the day you set a clear and firm boundary for the first time, something unexpected happens in the people who truly care for you. They respect you more, not less, because they see that you have your own inner world, that your generosity comes from a real choice and not from an inability to refuse. And that chosen generosity, the kind that comes from someone who could say no but decides to say yes, is worth infinitely more than the compulsive generosity of someone who never knew how to close the door. Before I reveal the next reason, if you have made it this far and you are taking seriously what you are hearing, write in the comments, "I love these videos." That way, I will know who is truly committed to understanding how relationships really work. And if you have not done it yet, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and activate the bell so you do not miss any future content. 5. Silent jealousy is more dangerous than open hatred. Sometimes your help does not only create emotional debt, it creates something even more dangerous and harder to detect, a permanent mirror of what the other person is not, does not have, has not achieved. If you are more stable than the person you are helping, if you are more disciplined, more serene, more successful in some area of your life, your simple existence becomes a silent accusation, not because you intend it, not because you use it as a weapon, but because contrast hurts and the contrast between your life and theirs becomes more evident every time they need you. Seneca wrote it with surgical precision in his letters to Lucilius. No one envies someone who is far away. Envy only exists between those who are close, between those who compare themselves, between those who share a common point of reference. And the closer you are, the more you have given, the more present you have been in someone's life, the more exposed you are to that silent envy that one day explodes without warning, that one day turns into betrayal without anything concrete having triggered it. The mechanism is this simple and this cruel. The person who receives your help compares themselves to you. They see your stability and feel their instability. They see your discipline and feel their lack of it. They see everything you have and everything they feel they lack. And instead of using that comparison as motivation to grow, they choose the shortest path to relief, destroying the source of their discomfort, criticizing you, pushing you away, betraying you. Because if you stop shining, they stop feeling overshadowed. Epictetus said that the envious person suffers twice, once for what they do not have, and once for what the other person does have. It is a double suffering, unnecessary and completely self-inflicted. But whoever is trapped in it cannot see it clearly. They can only react against the source of that suffering. There is no way to protect yourself completely from silent jealousy, but there is a way not to feed it unnecessarily. Help with discretion. without making the difference between your position and the other person's more visible than necessary. Because the less evident the contrast, the less conscious the other person is of everything you have and everything they feel they lack, the less envy your generosity will awaken. And always remember this: the person who envies you in silence after you help them is not telling you that you are too much. They are telling you that their inner world still does not have the space to receive what you give without feeling small. That is not your responsibility, but it is something you must see clearly, so you stop putting energy where it cannot flourish. 6. Reminding others of what you gave is the most costly mistake. Never, under any circumstances, remind anyone out loud of what you did for them. Never use it as an argument in a discussion. Never mention it to demand gratitude. Never bring it up to prove you deserve better treatment. Because the day you do, you turn an act of generosity into an invoice, and no one, absolutely no one, wants to feel indebted to another person. No one wants to feel that what they received had a price that is now being collected. Seneca said it in a way that admits no debate: whoever gives and then remembers it did not give. They lent. The true gift is given and forgotten. The one who keeps it to themselves, without expecting recognition, without using it as currency, is the only one who truly gives. And they are also, paradoxically, the only one who can never be hurt by ingratitude, because they never put anything at stake. When you remember what you gave in the middle of a conflict, when you bring up your past generosity to win a present argument, you do not only lose the argument, you lose something far more valuable: the dignity of having given well. Because in that moment, retroactively, your generosity stops being a free act and becomes an investment that went wrong. There is a Stoic principle worth practicing like a muscle every single day: give and let go, help and forget. Not because what you gave has no value, but because the value of what you gave cannot depend on how the other person receives it. And there is a practical dimension to this that goes beyond philosophy. When you keep in memory everything you have given, when you carry an internal account of your acts of generosity, you are unwittingly creating an expectation. And unfulfilled expectations create suffering. In contrast, the one who gives and genuinely lets go, who helps today and tomorrow, no longer carries the weight of that help, lives lighter, sleeps better, does not accumulate grievances, and keeps the door open to keep giving from freedom, without the burden of everything they gave before that was not recognized the way they hoped. If you have made it this far, if you are recognizing yourself in some of these situations, if you are remembering specific faces and moments as you listen to this, do me a favor that helps me enormously to keep creating this content. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and write in the comments the word betrayal along with your age. I want to know how many people with true life experience are making it here with me. We continue because the 6 reasons that remain are even more important than the first 6. The last one especially will mark you. 7. You helped someone who never wanted to grow. There is a type of person that is especially difficult to identify until it is already too late, because they present themselves with a face that disables all your defenses, the face of someone who suffers, who needs, who is trapped in a situation they do not deserve. And you, who are generous, who have heart, who cannot stay still when you see someone in difficulty, extend your hand, and that person takes it. With gratitude at first, with naturalness afterward, with demands finally. Because there are people who are not looking to get out of their problems, they are looking for someone to endure them indefinitely. Someone to solve, to support, to always be available. Not because they are bad people at their core, but because they never developed the inner strength to face their own difficulties. And when someone willing to carry them appears, they settle in. Because it is easier. Because it hurts less. Because growing requires an effort that no one can make for you. Marcus Aurelius understood this perfectly. You cannot want someone's well-being more than that person wants it for themselves. Helping someone who does not want to be helped is like trying to fill a bucket with no bottom. No matter how much you give, no matter how hard you try, the bucket never fills. Only you empty out. And the day you get tired, the day you can no longer go on, the day you finally decide to set the limit you should have set from the beginning, that person does not understand it as the natural exhaustion of someone who gave too much for too long. They understand it as a betrayal, as an abandonment, as if you were the one who failed. The Stoic lesson here is one of the hardest to apply because it goes against our deepest instinct. Sometimes the most generous way to help someone is not to help them. It is to let them face their own consequences. It is to respect their capacity to grow even when it hurts to watch them suffer in the moment. There is a practical signal that helps you distinguish between someone who wants to grow and someone who wants to be carried indefinitely. Observe what they do with your help. If every time you give them a solution they use it to ask for the next one without having tried anything themselves, if there is never a moment when they say, "I solved this myself thanks to what I learned from you," then you are not helping someone grow. You are feeding a dependency that one day will cost you more than you can imagine. 8. Betrayal is almost always proportional to the help. The more you have given, the more brutal the betrayal when it comes. It is not a coincidence. It is not cosmic injustice. It is emotional mathematics, and it works with a regularity that, once you understand it, stops surprising you even though it still hurts. The mechanism is this: the greater the debt someone feels toward you, the greater the psychological need to justify not paying it. And the only way to justify not paying a debt without feeling like a miserable person is to convince yourself that the debt was not legitimate, that the person who helped did not do so out of kindness, but out of self-interest, that you had hidden motives, that you were not really such a good person. It is a process that happens largely unconsciously. The person does not sit down one day to plan how to justify their ingratitude. Their mind gradually builds that alternative narrative, brick by brick, until one day it is complete and perfectly structured. And then they act from that narrative with total conviction, because in their mind it is already the truth. The Stoics called this the perversion of judgment. The mind that cannot accept its own debt constructs an alternative story where the benefactor is the guilty party, where the one who gave too much is the one to blame for having given, where your generosity becomes your crime. Understanding this mechanism does not eliminate the pain, but it radically changes how you process it. And there is something liberating in this understanding worth underlining. When you understand that the most brutal betrayal almost always comes from whoever received the most, when you see that pattern repeat itself in your life and in the lives of those around you, something settles within you. You stop being surprised. You stop asking yourself how it is possible. And above all, you stop looking for the explanation in some flaw of yours that justifies such unfair treatment. The explanation is not in you. It never was in you. It was always in the unbearable weight of a debt the other person did not know how to carry. 9. You gave away power without realizing it. Every time you solve someone's problem, every time you are there without being asked twice, every time you anticipate their needs and cover them before they even express them, you are unknowingly handing them extremely valuable information, that they can count on you unconditionally, that you will always be there, that you will never say no, that your limits are more flexible than they appear. And there are people who use that information not to grow but to calibrate. They learn exactly how much they can ask for, when they can push, how far they can go before you finally get tired. And they keep pushing those limits millimeter by millimeter, so slowly you barely notice, until one day you find yourself doing things you never imagined you would do for that person, carrying weights you should never have carried. Epictetus warned it with a clarity worth remembering every day. Know the difference between what depends on you and what does not. Your generosity depends on you. The use others make of it does not. And when someone uses your generosity as a tool for systematic extraction, the problem is not you. The problem is that you never set a clear limit from the beginning. The solution is not to become cold or distrustful. The solution is to be conscious, to observe not only the needs of whoever is asking, but also the patterns of whoever is receiving. Because a person who genuinely wants to grow uses your help as a springboard and eventually no longer needs it. A person who has learned to extract uses your help as an inexhaustible source and always needs more. And there is a concrete question you can ask yourself whenever you feel you are giving too much. Would this person be here if I could give them nothing? Would they seek me out the same way if they knew with certainty that this time I cannot solve their problem? If the honest answer is no, then what you have is not a relationship. You have a service contract that only one party consciously signed. 10. You confused helping with saving. Helping and saving are completely different things, even though from the outside they can look the same. Helping is offering a hand to someone who is walking but needs momentary support. Saving is carrying someone who does not want to walk, who cannot walk, or who has simply decided they do not need to learn to walk because you carry them. And when you carry someone for too long, two inevitable and simultaneous things happen. You break and they lose the ability or the desire to stand on their own. The Stoics had a name for the confusion between helping and saving: false virtue. Doing good not because it genuinely benefits the other person, but because it makes you feel necessary, powerful, indispensable, because it turns you into the hero of the story. And that, even when wrapped in the most generous appearance in the world, is a disguised form of selfishness. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the true good you can do for someone is to help them need you less, not more. Because dependency does not liberate, it chains. And the one who creates dependency in another, even with the best intentions in the world, is not helping. They are building a prison. Ask yourself this with complete honesty the next time you feel the impulse to help someone. Is my help going to make them stronger or more dependent? Am I moving them closer to a more autonomous version of themselves or further from it? Because the answer to that question is the difference between truly helping and saving in order to feel necessary. And if you find it hard to answer that question honestly, if you feel an internal resistance when you imagine that person no longer needing you, managing on their own, no longer coming to you, pay attention to that resistance. Because there, in that uncomfortable place, is the real root of why you help. And if that root is the fear of not being needed, then what you are building is not a relationship of generosity. It is a relationship of mutual dependency, disguised as kindness. 11. Strong people are grateful. Fragile people resent. This is one of the hardest truths of everything we have discussed today, but also one of the most liberating when you truly integrate it. Not everyone has the inner strength to receive help with genuine gratitude. And that does not depend on you. It never depended on you. People who have a solid identity, who respect themselves, who have worked on their inner world, who have learned to make peace with their limitations and failures, those people receive help for what it is, a gift. They integrate it with gratitude. They use it to grow. People who live from insecurity, from a wounded ego, from a constant fear of not being enough, those people receive help as a humiliation, as a confirmation of everything they fear about themselves. And that perception, even though it is completely subjective, generates resentment. And resentment always looks for someone to blame. And the most accessible person to blame is always you. Epictetus, who spent the first years of his life as a slave and knew humiliation from the inside in a way few of us can imagine, said that freedom is not an external condition, but an inner one, and that the person who is not free on the inside cannot receive any gift as a gift. They can only receive it as one more burden. You cannot know in advance which group the person you are going to help belongs to, but you can learn to observe over time, and there is a signal that is almost infallible. Observe how that person talks about those who helped them in the past. If they speak of them with gratitude, if they mention them with warmth, if they acknowledge what they received without needing to justify themselves or diminish its value, you are in front of someone who can receive what you give well. But if they speak of those who helped them with resentment, if they always find a but, if they systematically minimize what they received or invent hidden motives in those who gave, then you already have all the information you need. What they did to others, they will eventually do to you, because it is not a pattern of relationship, it is a pattern of inner world. 12. Never help in order to be loved. And we arrive at reason number 12, the one I promised at the beginning, the most brutal, and at the same time the most liberating of the entire list. The root of almost every betrayal you have experienced after helping someone is not in the other person. It is in you. In the real motive, the deepest and most honest motive for which you helped. Listen to this carefully, because it is the most important thing you are going to hear today. When you help in order to be loved, when you give in order to be recognized, when you sacrifice yourself so the other person owes you something, when you make yourself indispensable because without that role of savior, you are not quite sure who you are building the relationship on a lie. A kind lie, a well-intentioned lie, but a lie nonetheless. And relationships built on lies always break, without exception, not because the other person is bad, but because sooner or later, reality destroys what illusion built. Seneca left it written in a way that has no way back. The good that is done while seeking gratitude is not virtue, it is commerce. And commerce ends when one of the parties stops getting what they expected. When you stop receiving the gratitude you expected, when the love you were looking for does not come or goes away, the agreement breaks. And that break, seen from outside, looks like a betrayal. But seen from within, with complete honesty, it was the natural end of an exchange that should never have existed. The only help that does not break you, the only generosity that does not leave you exposed to betrayal, is the kind that comes from your strength, not your need. The kind you give because you want to and you can, not because you fear what will happen if you do not. The kind you hand over and release, without clinging to the outcome, without needing the other person to receive it in a certain way, without needing your generosity to be reciprocated in order to keep feeling good about yourself. Practice this starting today. One, before helping someone, stop for a moment and ask yourself with complete honesty, am I doing this because I genuinely want their well-being or because I need something in return? Two, if the answer is honest and there is something you expect in return, do not condemn yourself. Simply observe. Because the awareness of that mechanism is already the first step toward getting out of it. 3. Only help when you can do it from complete freedom, from that inner place where giving does not cost you your peace. 4. Let it go the moment you give it. Give, release, move on. That is the only generosity that does not hurt. The only kind no one can betray. And 5. Build your value from within, not from what others do with what you give them. Because the day your sense of worth stops depending on how the other person receives your generosity, that day you will be truly free. And from that freedom, you will be able to give more, better, and with more peace than ever before in your life. Let us go back to the beginning, to the question we started with. Why do the people you help always betray you? Now you know the complete answer. Not because you are bad, not because they are monsters, but because helping without wisdom creates debt, and debt creates resentment, and resentment looks for a way out. And that way out, almost always, is you. These 12 reasons are not an invitation to close your heart or to stop giving. They are an invitation to give in a different way, with clear limits, with honest expectations, without needing anything in return. Because the person who helps from strength, who gives from freedom, who releases without clinging, that person cannot be betrayed. Not because others are better or more honest with them, but because they never put their value in anyone else's hands, because their peace does not depend on how the other person receives what they give, and that, at its core, is what the Stoics have been teaching for 2,000 years. Not that the world is fair, not that gratitude always comes, not that kindness is always rewarded, but that your peace, your dignity, and your value cannot depend on what others do with what you give them. Because what is in your hands, the quality of your intention, the freedom of your generosity, the strength from which you give, no one can take that from you. And what is not in your hands, how the other person receives what you give, whether they appreciate it or betray it, whether they use it to grow or to resent, that was never yours to begin with. Always remember this and engrave it somewhere you can return to when the pain of a betrayal makes you doubt your own worth. The most generous person is not the one who gives the most, but the one who gives without needing it to be returned. That is the deepest freedom that exists, and it is within reach of anyone who decides to practice it today. If you made it to the end, if this video stirred something inside you, write in the comments the word betrayal along with your age, so I know who the true wise ones are, who made it all the way to the end, I read every single one. Hit the like button so this message reaches whoever needs it. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. A warm embrace. I will see you in the next video.